Colleagues, I rise today to urge your no vote. I think this revenue package really amounts to little more than a major cash giveaway to thousands of well-off lawyers, doctors, lobbyists, accountants, and other service providers who happen to do business through an LLC, an S-Corp, a partnership. Now, what do I mean by that? And as I mentioned in my conflict statement, I do business in a small law firm. We have a 2-person practice. We have 3 employees. This bill is going to reduce my tax rate, I believe, by more than 20%. And why? What is the public policy rationale we're trying to achieve with this? Let's walk through it. When we evaluate tax codes, the fairness of a tax code, we look at 2 basic concepts. And they have a highfalutin word, but they're really pretty simple. It's basic fairness. One is called horizontal equity, and the other is called vertical equity. Now, what does that mean? It's very, very simple. Horizontal equity means that 2 people who do roughly the same work and make about the same amount of money should pay roughly the same amount of taxes. That's fair. It's horizontal equity. Vertical equity is that people who make more, that's why we have a progressive tax code, people who make more and thus have more disposable income typically pay a greater percentage in taxes. I think kind of the moral basis to vertical equity was best explained in the parable of the old widow and the mites. It's Luke 21, 1 through 4. When the old widow cast her 2 mites to the temple and tithed. And Jesus explained to his disciples that, in fact, that woman had given more than many of the others, even though it was only 2 mites. That is vertical equity. And this proposal, in the form of a so-called small business tax cut, which I think is mislabeled, it's really a tax giveaway to a lot of professionals and service providers. This achieves the impossible, almost. It violates really both horizontal equity and vertical equity, all in one fell swoop. And to illustrate that point, I'm going to use 3 people as an example. I'm going to use myself. I want to use my legal secretary, Barb, wonderful woman. And I'm going to refer to my colleague, my friend from Lake Oswego, who not 30 hours ago welcomed his 2nd child and is here anyway. Congratulations. I know we all join me in saying that. Many of you know that the representative from Lake Oswego and I used to practice law together. Before either of us were elected to the legislature, we worked for the same law firm. We both litigated there, and we did roughly the same thing. Indeed, we've worked on cases together while there before. And as you would expect, we both paid about the same amount of our income in taxes. 9% in Oregon we paid in personal income taxes. That's also what my legal secretary, Barb, pays. That's how we do it in Oregon. Now, a few years ago, I had the opportunity to join my father in our small practice. I didn't really assume any great business risk by doing that. Indeed, I rapidly learned the power of the deduction. That's an advantage that small business owners currently have. You can deduct a lot of things as business expenses. Now, under this bill, if this is passed, my tax rate is, I believe, going to go down to 7%. The representatives will continue to pay 9%. We are doing roughly the same thing, yet I'm going to pay 20% less in taxes. That's not fair. That violates horizontal equity. There is not really a good rational basis for that. So another way of asking it is, why should a doctor who works in a clinic pay 7% in taxes, whereas a doctor who works in the hospital pay 9%? Why? Why would a lobbyist, many lobbyists are contract lobbyists, they will now pay 7%, or if they make more than $250, I believe they'll pay 7.2%. But lobbyists who work in-house for one company will continue to pay 9%. What I suspect that many of them will do is take advantage of this major loophole, and they will simply leave, set up their own shop, and continue to represent only one client. If they pull together, they hire one employee, voila, 20% tax savings. Why are we doing this? What's the rational basis there? So as you can see, it just violates horizontal equity. Now, but actually what I personally find more troubling is how this violates vertical equity. It's just not fair. I am going to be paying 7%.
Representative Gorsuch yields his time.
Thank you, Representative. I will be paying 7% income taxes. My secretary, Barb, is going to continue to pay 9% taxes. Why? How is that fair? There's nothing fair about that. What are those? Why are we doing this? We've heard certain explanations. I've heard one that it will stimulate employment. Well, if you look at the Legislative Revenue Office, if you look at the employment estimates as a result of it, it is, perhaps it will, but we're paying dearly for each job created. Why else? Why would we do this? What is the advantage? Why am I getting this tax cut? It's really just not fair. I also want to talk a bit about, if I may, the context in which we're here, the so-called grand bargain. What is the message that this legislature is sending when we cut my taxes, 20%? We cut taxes on thousands of lawyers, doctors, lobbyists, accountants, on the same day that we are reducing benefits to retirees. What is that message we send? There's nothing grand about it, and it's certainly not a bargain. It is not the Oregon way, and I urge your no vote.